The Stars and Stripes show is brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.
It's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. Thank you so much for choosing Gabs FM. And of course, welcome to the Stars and Stripes show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with Gabs FM and of course, America in Botswana. And if you're wondering what the show's about, our shared values will remain at the heart of our strong bilateral relationship between the United States of America and Botswana government. The objective of the Stars and Stripes show, America in Botswana, is to promote shared health, security, and of course, prosperity. And of course, I always say this, it's the sharing economy is one of the most rapidly growing markets in the world. The shared economy can be examples of that. A lot of that is an example of the shared economy. And of course, today, we're speaking on the Stars and Stripes show. We have a VIP guest in the building. Her name is Jackie Mika, and she is the Chief Consular Officer for the United States of America, U.S. Embassy. Jackie, welcome to the show, and how are you?
Thanks, Swift. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm doing just great.
Fantastic. I've got a little secret to tell you, the listener. Jackie was actually in her past life a radio broadcaster. Did you know that, Aisha?
I was. I mean, this is literally 40 years ago. It was amazing. I know. I'm aging myself. But I had this little radio show when I was in college.
Nice.
Yeah, it was wonderful. We did country music because I'm from Wyoming, and so I'm way out in the Wild West in the United States. So had to do the country music out there. It was a blast. I wish I could have made it a career.
Wow. And have you always had a love affair with radio since then?
You know, I love radio because it is transportable. You can be on your headphones and walking and listening to radio. You can do streaming online. It is where you are always, and it's hands-free. You don't have to have a phone, none of that. And you're getting all of the information and all of the entertainment you could possibly want.
Fantastic. And that's why, shared health, shared culture. And I like to highlight that, the U.S. citizen and the Botswana citizen have got so much in common. Absolutely. And one wouldn't think that or would neglect to think that, you're a radio broadcaster. I happen to be a radio broadcaster. Maybe we'll have a show together. Who knows?
I would love it.
Moving swiftly along. Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, welcome to the Stars and Stripes radio show, America in Botswana. And today we're having a conversation and talking immigration. We're going to talk on, what it takes for you as a U.S. citizen to apply for U.S. citizenship, whether you're born in Botswana or born in the U.S. And also demystify a lot of the assumptions. I think when it comes to this, there's a lot of assumptions. So let's get straight into it, Jackie. What does the consular office do exactly?
Good question, because we are super busy. We do a lot in the embassy. So we have two main focuses. I guess the Latin would be foci.
Foci, I like that.
Yeah, two foci. So what we do is provide services, routine and emergency services to U.S. citizens who are not in the United States. So we help with births, deaths, disasters, arrests, medical emergencies, all of those kinds of things that a U.S. citizen might encounter outside of the United States. That's one focus. The other focus is to help facilitate legitimate travel to the United States. That's in the form of visas. So if a person wanted to visit the United States just for tourism, if they wanted to go to school there, if they wanted to do a cultural exchange, all kinds of reasons, working, everything, they might need a visa to do that. And we would be the office that you would come to do an application to see if you qualify to go.
Well, 3956962 is my studio line. Send me a WhatsApp message if you'd like to have any understandings, whether you are a U.S. citizen living in Botswana or even, who knows, neighboring South Africa or the SADC region. You can send me a WhatsApp message on +267 395 6962 if you have any questions as a U.S. citizen living outside of the United States. And of course, you'd like to engage the embassy, feel free. If you're a Botswana and you'd like to apply for for a visa and things like that. Obviously, I must make a little disclaimer. We cannot address detailed issues when it comes to immigration issues, but I'm sure Jackie will try and assist you to the best of her abilities. So let's talk about the services that are provided for U.S. citizens. I must say, Jackie, in the movies, I see this a lot in the movies where, everybody runs to the U.S. Embassy in case they have a challenge and, they want to get home, and I think I would like to applaud the U.S. government for taking care of its citizens outside of the country. Whether we like it or not, when COVID-19 first came onto the scene, we know that there were a number of U.S. citizens trapped in China. We know there were Botswana citizens. So these are things that we can also sort of model and learn from the U.S. Embassy in terms of how to take care of citizens outside of the shores of your own nation when living in other countries.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the question, because it's super important. And you're exactly right that during COVID-19, we repatriated hundreds of thousands, literally hundreds of thousands of U.S. citizens who are stuck elsewhere.
Wow.
Simply because airports closed.
Yes.
So they had no way to get home. In Honduras or Guatemala or any number, Pakistan, lots of different places around the world, people needed assistance, and that's what we did. We were there to assist that. It's also true if there's a natural disaster, if there's a hurricane or an earthquake in places, we help people who are in the United States find their loved ones who might be in that country.
Absolutely.
So there are those kinds of things that we assist with. The routine things are passports. You might be living in Botswana right now and your passport's due to expire and you need to renew that.
Yes.
We don't expect you to travel back to the United States. We can do that right here in Botswana at our office.
Wow.
If you lose your passport, maybe you're on vacation, maybe you're doing a safari in the Okavango Delta, which would be amazing.
Yes.
Yes. And so you lose your passport, it's stolen, something happens to it. You can come to our embassy. We can really produce an emergency passport in a matter of hours. So you can get on your way and get to wherever else you need to be. It's not so common here, but if you are living in Botswana and you have a child, we all know about birthright citizenship in the United States.
Yes.
Most people who, if you're born in the U.S., that automatically gives you a claim to U.S. citizenship there.
Absolutely.
However, if you're born overseas to U.S. parents or one U.S. parent, it may be possible for you to claim citizenship as well. And so you would come to our office and we would determine if that eligibility is there and be able to do that.
Wow, it's Gabs FM Power to Engage Your World. These are issues that are very important. And, like I say, I think it's inspirational to see, and it's something that we can learn. I also like to take this time to congratulate the BW government, because I had an issue with my passport and I got my passport in about 4 hours. So I think that is also goes to show that, the bilateral relationship with regards to immigration issues, it's an important component of our everyday life. I mean, the nation of the United States was built by so many immigrants who are currently U.S. embassy citizens today. Dare I say, even Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama, we know he originates from Kenya. And those are things that, it's a breath of fresh air to see how it's been, adequately modeled and implemented in the United States. Look, let's move along swiftly. If in the case that I'm a U.S. citizen, can I apply for U.S. citizenship for my baby born in Botswana? You did allude to that. Just clarify that again.
Yes, absolutely. So we have American Citizen Services appointments every single week. We devote 1 day a week to that.
Okay, nice.
So they can just contact our embassy and we can make an appointment for them. They would come in with the appropriate paperwork. We would communicate that to them before they ever made the appointment. So they would come prepared, and then we could have that appointment and determine if the child would be eligible for citizenship at that time.
Fantastic. Now, I've come across Smart Traveler Enrollment Program online. Talk to me about what that is and define it for us a little bit better.
Thank you, Swift. That's a really great program. We call it STEP because of the acronym, Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. It's basically an email listserv. So if anyone in the world, it doesn't have to actually be a U.S. citizen, but it is designed for U.S. citizens.
Okay.
They can register into STEP and then determine which country they want to get messages from.
Okay.
So if you're living and working in Botswana, it makes sense that you would want to get messages in Botswana.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that the U.S. Embassy feels is important for U.S. citizens to know, for example, we recently had the anniversary of 9/11. That was the 21st anniversary of the terrorist attacks in New York and, and in Washington.
Yes.
And so we wanted to make sure that citizens in Botswana knew that around anniversaries like that, there could be a potential of agitation. There could be a potential for disturbing acts, if you will.
Okay.
And so we sent out a message to U.S. citizens, just reminding them to be on guard, just pay attention to your situation, your surroundings, just keep you safe. So if there's a natural disaster, if during COVID we sent out a lot of these messages indicating could they travel home, how would they travel home if they did? So we would send out these messages so that U.S. citizens are well informed in the country. The beauty of that program, though, is that it's not just unique to the country in which you are currently living. If you are traveling to another country, for example, you want to go to Turkey, you want to go to Istanbul, you can just go online into your account on that STEP program and then say, I'm going to be in Turkey from October 8th to October 21st, and I want to get messages during that time frame.
Nice.
And then you will be able to do that. That way you're consistently getting what you need to make good choices while you're traveling.
Absolutely. It's Gabs FM, powered to engage your world. The Stars and Stripes Show, America in Botswana, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy in Gaborone in partnership with Gabs FM. If you've just joined us, my guest's name is Jackie Mika, and she's the Chief Consular Officer for the United States of America, U.S. Embassy. And today we're just talking about, immigration. Well, I don't know whether the right word is immigration, but visa applications and opportunities for both the U.S. citizen, and highlighting some of the services that the U.S. Embassy in Gaborone can offer the U.S. citizen. And let me bring it home to the BW citizen. Jackie, whether we like it or not, there's a lot of opportunity between the United States and Botswana from an entrepreneurship point of view, academic. In the event that I'm an entrepreneur, for example, and I've got this power meeting in New York. Maybe I'm prophesying into my life. I've got a power meeting in New York, and it's something that has just arisen last minute. And I really need to travel to the United States urgently, but there are no appointments available. Is there anything that can be done? Is there an office I can engage? Is there a place or a platform or a website where I can get information by, case by case scenarios?
Absolutely. As you may be aware, because of COVID-19,
yes,
appointments are very precious right now.
Yes.
And in surrounding countries, the backlog is months
hectic.
long.
Yes.
It is a long time. Right now, in our consular section, all of our appointments are taken through the end of the year. So your scenario is absolutely something that could happen. Something happens in the United States, a person needs to go and needs an appointment. If you are a resident in Botswana, so you're a Botswana citizen, or you're just living and working here, but you are a resident in Botswana, send us an email. We will accommodate your request for an appointment. That is no problem.
Okay, great.
We've built into our schedule a little flexibility so that we can do that.
Nice.
Specifically for students, because what we were finding is that students really needed to go and they have to be there by a certain date.
Yes, absolutely.
And they just couldn't wait for months for an appointment. So we're definitely accommodating any student that wants to go to school. But for the general citizenry here, the population in Botswana, absolutely send us an email. It's consulargaborone@state.gov. Just send us an email there and we will accommodate that.
Definitely. I like that. I told you the prolific Pansulas connected from the United States right down to Botswana. And kings and queens, welcome to the show. The Stars and Stripes radio show, America in Botswana. 3956962 is my studio line. Feel free to call me and, ask and engage with the U.S. Embassy. And that's what this show is about. It's about giving a human voice to the United States Embassy. Usually you might not be able to access some of the personnel that we interview on the show, and it's important that I grant you that opportunity. Look, let's talk, Jackie. In the event my visa application is successful, how long, timelines, how long will I have, or does it take for me to have my visa in my hand?
Absolutely. We turn those around really quickly.
Nice.
So if you interview on a Tuesday, your visa will be ready Wednesday afternoon. That is the normal turnaround time. It's about 36 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, super fast. We want to get those in and out. We don't want to hold on to your passport because you have to leave your passport so that we can insert the visa. So we want to make sure that you get that back because we understand people travel. People need their passports.
Yes.
So it's usually 36 hours. There are occasions when it may take a bit longer. And so I always recommend to folks who are applying for a visa, do not make your travel plans until you have your passport with the visa back. Because if I approve you at the window, if I say, yes, everything's good, we're going to issue the visa, and then the system crashes, something happens.
Yes, absolutely.
And you've already purchased your ticket. There's nothing I can do about that, really. So it's really important to wait until you get your passport back with the visa, then make your travel plans. But we do try to do that as quickly as possible.
Well, we know an important conversation to have is the issue of COVID-19. Mm-hmm. I mean, whether we like it or not, COVID-19 has changed a lot of immigration policy in terms of entry into any country, including the United States. Just touch on some of the terms and conditions, or what I would need to know or understand in line with traveling to the United States and COVID. I mean, vaccinations. Do I need to have a vaccine passport? There's an argument of a digital vaccine passport versus a physical vaccine passport. Just, highlight some of those terms and conditions.
Absolutely. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States, they are the authority that writes the regulations for people entering the United States.
Yes.
The very best place to go, I can tell you what this current situation is today, and I will, but things change all the time.
Okay,
and
fair
so
enough.
Just in case 2 weeks from now somebody wants to travel and wants to make sure this is the latest and greatest, they should go to the CDC website for sure. CDC.gov, CDC.gov, to get the latest information. But right now, it is true that folks need to be fully vaccinated in order to travel. A really good resource for people when they're traveling is to contact their airline, because the airlines are on the hook if they let someone on that plane who can then not go into the United States. So they have to make sure that person has a valid passport, that they have a visa to enter the U.S., and that they've met all of the conditions established by the CDC. So really, I'm not trying to pass the buck here, but
of course.
It really is a great connection with your airline, because they'll be able to tell you the latest as well. So fully vaccinated, it used to be that you had to have a negative COVID test, but that's no longer the case. And that's just one example of how things change over time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's Gabs FM, Power to Engage. Well, welcome to the show. Do you want to travel to the United States of America? The question is how. Remember, there's so many opportunities between tourism and travel to economic and entrepreneurship. There's the AGOA agreement. Now, personally, I would love to travel to New York, and, go and see. I know that there's digital means to have a meeting, but I, on the other hand, would like to travel and have a physical meeting, because I believe in human interaction. I am an exception of the rule.
Spoken like a true radio host.
No, I'm an exception of the rule. Forgive me. Last question, Jackie. My diversity visa application was selected. Can I come to the U.S. Embassy in Gaborone for my interview?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Because Gaborone, our section here in Botswana, does not process immigrant visa applications.
Okay.
And so the nearest one would be Johannesburg.
Okay.
So any kind of immigrant visa, any family-based immigrant visa, you would need to go to Johannesburg to have that interview.
Well, fantastic. Look, I think last question would be 10-year visa applications. There's a difference. I've been there, but I got a student visa because I was going there for academic reasons. There's a difference between a one entry, if I'm not mistaken, and a 10-year visa. Are you able to explain that?
You bet. It does depend on the visa type as to how long the validity would be for that visa.
Absolutely.
Normal folks who want to just go and visit, or maybe go to a conference or that kind of very limited business activity, will receive a B1, B2 visa is what that's called.
Okay.
And that's a 10-year validity visa.
Okay.
So even if you say you come to the embassy, you say, I want to go to a conference in Chicago at this date, and you're granted the visa.
Yes.
That's a 10-year visa, and that means you can use that visa to travel for tourism 3 years from now.
Okay, nice.
Yes, exactly. So you have to make sure you're using it within the terms of the visa.
Okay.
For instance, you can't work if you have a B1, B2. You would need a work visa for that. So there are differences on what you can and cannot do on each of the visa types. So make sure that you're applying for the correct one for your activity in the United States.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And last question is economics. financial economics. Obviously, my assumption is in order to travel, the U.S. government wants you to be able to financially be able to afford to take care of yourself.
Yes,
are you able to touch on, what that looks like? In the case I want to travel to, do I need to apply, submit financial statements and things like that? I'm just, obviously touching on questions that a lot of people may have, but they're very unsure of the terms and conditions.
Absolutely. I understand it's really a confusing process, I think, for a lot of folks.
Yes.
What the main thing is when you're applying for a visa, in order to qualify primarily, is that you have to prove to the consular officer that you are going to use the visa in the terms that it has.
Yes.
So that's number one. And number two, that you will return.
Okay.
So that you're going to come back to Botswana.
Yes.
You're not going to overstay your visa. You're not going to disappear into the country and live there illegally.
Yes.
Right? Some of the things that you can do, not all, but some of the things that you could do would be to provide financial statements to prove that you are financially able to afford the trip and that you have incentive to come back.
Yes.
That those kinds of things will happen. So take all of that into consideration when you're applying for a visa. Think about what you can do, what you can show the consular officer, so that they know that this is the reason that you want to travel, that this is going to be temporary for you, and then you're going to come back to your country and live your wonderful life.
Fantastic. I'd like to decree and declare that I do not want to live in the United States of America. In the event that I do apply for my visa application, it'll be probably, I'd prefer a 10-year visa, just in and out, travel here and there, but mostly business, but I will not be staying in the United States. I've got no desire. I do love the United States, and I think it's a beautiful country, and I'd like to encourage a lot of people. It's a beautiful country to go and visit. The tourism component, the culture. I went to New Orleans, and you know what? I told my wife when I got back, my baby, I got to take you back to the city of jazz, because the music culture was absolutely palatable and beautiful. It was nice to see the jazz and the culture and all sorts of things. So definitely I'm going back there.
Well, and I think there is something for everyone.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So it is such a diverse place. And you touched on this earlier, Swift, when you said that there are so many cultures that have gone to the United States, become citizens of the United States.
Yes.
That is our strength, I believe.
Yes,
the diversity
absolutely.
of our people. But it also means that there are fascinating places to go, all within the United States. You have the Western United States.
Sorry, Jackie, I just need to interject and take this call. Gabs FM, good evening. Good morning, sorry.
Erra,
bua Setswana motsadi wa ka. Erra.
A ke utlwa sentle la re ga o ya America o batla visa.
Erra.
Ne ke batla go no hela.
Thank you.
Ne ke batla go mmolella gore monna yo buang ke molebe ta bua ga Benjamin.
Erra.
And so se dira kana se le fitira.
Erra.
Ke lo ba le kgaoganyang batho. Yang di kwalo tsone tsaase re tlo mo go ene ke tenolo 18 tswa mo go ene go gakologetswe maleo a gago ene yo kgaoganyang batho go ya kwa America.
Erra. Oh, we lost that caller. Sincerely apologize for that. And of course, moving swiftly along, he was just asking whether I really require a visa and getting clarity on that. And of course, I didn't. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the rest of the question. But moving swiftly along, pun intended. Look, Jackie, thank you so much for sparing some time to educate us on these issues. I hope, and I sincerely hope that, we'll have a lot of travel between, the United States and Botswana. And I'd like to encourage a lot of us to go and read the AGOA agreement. I'm for economic opportunities for young people, especially for young people. So look, let's get out there. Let's travel to the United States. Let's look for opportunities to come and reinvest in Botswana. I won't lie. Before being in love with America, I'm a Botswana through and through. And the blue, black and white flag has to fly high. And I would rather, and I'm an opportunist, sadly, I'd rather use the opportunity to go to the United States, invest in myself, and come back home. Okay?
Sure,
I think with my visa application, I'll include this audio clip and attach it and send it with you. Okay? Thank you so much, Jackie, and have a fantastic evening. Let's move along swiftly. The BBC Minute coming your way.
Stars and Stripes show is brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.
It's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. Welcome back to the Stars and Stripes show. I need a breakdown. We have different segments, and we've just closed the Meet America policy segment, and we're talking about visa applications and some of the services that the U.S. Embassy can provide for the U.S. citizen as well as the BW citizen. I'd like to encourage you to go online. You know, one thing that is accessible from the U.S. Embassy is information. So all you got to do is Google, and a number of things will pop out. Please get your information right and apply. Please. Moving along swiftly, the next segment is called Ask the Chargé, or Ask the Acting Ambassador segment. This is where you get to answer or ask all the burning questions that you have for the Acting Ambassador of the United States Embassy to Botswana, Her Excellency Amanda Jacobson. And this is what you had to say this time round. What advice would you give the youth, especially those who are finishing university? And this is what she had to say.
So the advice that I would give youth is it's important to identify one or two personal passions that you want to dedicate yourself to. You know, like the environment, maybe education, youth empowerment. To me, that's more important than identifying a specific job that you aspire to. I would also advise that it's important to cultivate work-life balance early on in your career. It's really important to prioritize your friends and family and to show up for marriages, funerals, and important life events. I also think it's important to develop new skills constantly as an individual, and to show yourself as being a team player and willing to learn new things. So this is some of the advice that I would give Botswana youth.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for those nuggets of wisdom. Whether we like it or not, the youth are tomorrow's leaders, and our investment in the youth is critical for a better Botswana. Where else in the world have you lived? I'm interested to know.
So I feel really fortunate that over the course of my life, I've had the opportunity to live different places. And so some of the countries where I've lived more than 6 months include, well, of course, the United States, Argentina, where I was an exchange student in high school for a year, Chile, where I studied in university, Honduras and Mexico, where I was a teacher. I did graduate school in Belgium, where I studied international relations. And then in the Foreign Service, I have served in Togo, Nepal, Botswana, of course, now 2 times, and Ethiopia.
Wow, I've been to Ethiopia. It's such a beautiful country to go. You know what I love about Ethiopia is that you will never see multinational brands. You'll never see international brands. Well, the last time that I was there, a lot can change in so long. And if you're wondering, how can you ask the Chargé any questions, feel free to follow the U.S. Embassy on their social media platforms. And moving swiftly along, look, I've got your favorite lady here. She's in the building. The next segment is called Chasing the Dream. And personally, it's one of my all-time favorite segments of the show. And of course, we touch on educational opportunities that the U.S. Embassy offers through its Education USA office for prospective students, academics, and professionals. To bring this segment to light is the ever bubbly, she is so bubbly, education advisor Wabile Tau from the U.S. Embassy Public Affairs office to highlight some exciting and opportunities for you and me. Welcome to the show, beautiful.
Hi, Swift. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
You always make me feel like I should be Santa Claus. Like, seriously.
Like, with radio, it's an ego thing. I need to pump your ego so that you deliver for my people.
Well, I guess the great thing about me is that it's not just ego. I do come and deliver. And,
yes.
Thank you so much for all the Mandela Washington applicants who actually came through. We closed it September 13, and I'm looking forward to actually seeing all the leaders come through. But today we're talking study in the U.S. And I'm glad Jackie's here because we're talking visas, because around this time is September, so people ought to be completing their college applications.
Nice.
So just today I just want to remind people about the basic standardized tests that they all should be taking right about now. Remember, if you're an undergraduate applicant, you want to go to the U.S. and you want to do your first degree, you should be sitting for your SAT and your TOEFL. And if you're looking at master's programs, you should be sitting for your TOEFL, your English proficiency test, as well as your GRE. So all of this, if you want to know more information as to where you can actually apply and register for these tests, log on to educationusa.state.gov. And if you can't find it, come to bdub.usembassy.gov.
Short and sweet. Thank you so much, my friend. And thank you for the great work you do. Whether you like it or not, I would like to encourage a lot of people just to engage with your office in order to understand opportunities. Even if the opportunities you've missed every year, every month, every quarter, the U.S. Embassy does have an opportunity for you and me. And please engage with your office. If they'd like to engage with your office, where can they find you?
They can definitely call our landline. They can call go to bw.usembassy.gov. That's our website. That's where all my details are. Or you can also just shoot a WhatsApp to 76604-864 between the hours of 7:30 and 5 p.m. Mondays to Thursday. Fridays, rechaisa like 1:30 nyana fela, then I'm out.
Moving swiftly along. 11:41 is your time. Next, we got the partner spotlight. Have you heard of a lady called Lebo Speaks? I followed this lady on social media. I do. I'm a follower. I'm a believer in her content. And she's a great individual. Whether we like it or not, Botswana are doing great things. And it's important to grant them the platform to highlight what they're doing. Look out for that conversation coming your way shortly.
The Stars and Stripes show is brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.
Well, it's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. Thank you so much for choosing the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Mission in Gaborone in partnership with Gabs FM. America in Botswana, and the next segment is called the Partner Spotlight. This is where you get to hear from the mouthpiece who are Botswana, who benefited from the United States programming, who have also been to the U.S., some of them. And of course, testimonials are the most powerful form of marketing. I would never ever just believe anything that anybody says if I don't hear it from my fellow countrymen. And of course, that's why we've got How are you, aka Lebo Speaks?
Hi Swift, how are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this conversation.
Absolutely. I'm a follower. I'm one of your followers.
I'm following you too.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to you. And thank you so much for taking time for, coming to the show and highlighting. Look, let's start here. Share your story with your relationship with the U.S. Embassy and, some of the work that you do. Who is Lebo Speaks, for those that don't know?
Okay, for the benefit of what is happening right now on this show.
Yes.
I'm actually a Mandela Washington Fellow alumni.
Hello.
A Yali Fellow. I was in the 2014 cohort. So I think it was like the third or the second cohort.
Nice.
But it was the first biggest cohort, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was really how I got to interact a lot with the U.S. Embassy.
Fantastic. Yeah. And within these cohorts, you go there to study different leadership programming. I know there's entrepreneurship. I know there's civic engagement and another one. Just highlight which course that you chose.
Yeah, I was in the civic engagement leadership track, and I went to Arkansas. It was my first time hearing about a place called Arkansas. I was like, okay, not New York, not Washington, D.C., but it's okay.
Yes.
But it was really great. Spent 6 weeks there. It was a really intensive but very beneficial program.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had every day had something that we were trained to do during that time.
Wow.
But we also made time for, touristy stuff.
Yes.
And just, engaging with the communities. It was really great. And I have to say, my biggest takeaway from the Mandela Washington Fellowship was the amazing network that I made.
Wow.
In terms of, I always say to people, there is nowhere in Africa that I can go and be lost.
100%. I share the same sentiments because, I've got a connection in Greece, by the ocean there, by where everybody likes and all of that. And I met her in the United States in one of these programs and was still very close. She still extended so many invitations for me to go out there. So if you see me there, don't be surprised. Moving swiftly along. Look, Lebo, whether we like it or not, civic engagement is such an important component of Botswana. And whether we like it or not, civic leaders are, the lifeblood of building a better tomorrow for Botswana. Just share your line of work and your humanitarian line of work in line with what you do today and what you've done in Botswana.
Okay, so I actually was selected as a fellowship because of my work in the development space.
I like that.
Before that, I was doing a lot of volunteer work. So, by the way, if you're applying, a great tip, if you have a lot of volunteer work on your profile, that is amazing. You should continue with that.
Wow.
So that's a plus, right?
Yes.
And then I went into humanitarian work. I first started with being in South Sudan, working with the United Nations. So I'm currently in Syria, and that is.
I would say this serious. It's like, you know what? You're braver than me, huh? And look, I think whether we like it or not, we need Botswana to share their experiences of what it means to contribute to what I call the global citizen and the advancement of the human race, where our religion is love and our race is actually the human race. Let's talk about how to get into it. Share as much as you can, Lebo. I think, and I'd like you to share from this point of view, encourage the nation of the importance of, volunteerism and the importance of taking care of your fellow man. I think that's a culture that we're slowly losing, but we've got to reignite, and we could learn from your story.
Interestingly, my gateway into the United Nations was being a UN volunteer. There is this program that the United Nations has. It's called UN Volunteers. So you actually register on their website, and then you apply. Like it's really a job, but you're like, okay, it's like, okay, you have to be qualified for the roles that you apply for, right? And it's like in different places in the world. So, but mostly humanitarian and development spaces.
Wow.
So that's how really I got into it. And it's really interesting because you have all these people from across the world who are qualified, really, really qualified at what they do, but are willing to take just a stipend. You just get a stipend to do the work that you do, but it's the experience and the lives that you touch, really, that it's invaluable.
Look, you inspire me. There was a time I was saying live on radio that I think every civil servant or any person who takes on a leadership role should actually share their volunteerism profile. I think it's something that I would love to influence policy from that perspective, because a leader that has sacrificed for servant leadership, I wouldn't go all the way to Syria personally, but someone who can go to Syria and say, look, I'm going to do this for a good cause, I'm going to do this for the advancement of the human race, is somebody that is showing us the importance of a social contract that I call trust.
Yeah.
Trusting our leadership, trusting the people that are the servants of our country, and the developmental component of our country is such an important element that I think we've complicated. So I must say that, you totally inspire me for the things that you do. Shout out to you, girl.
Thank you so
Shout
much.
out to you. Bluetooth pound. And moving swiftly along, if you've just joined us, who are on the Stars and Stripes radio show, feel free to call me on 395-6962. And of course, let's go on to this. You're a Yale alumni, you did say so. How was your experience, and how did that contribute to who Lebo is today? How did that open? Whether we like it or not, exposure is an important component of the success of your future and your career. How did your experience in the United States open that element of your life?
I think one of the biggest things is, embracing diversity. For me, that was one of the biggest things.
Yes.
Because there were so many. We lived in one place, and I think there were 24 of us in one place, and all of us were from different countries in Africa. All of us were different. Like, I shared a room with someone who is from Senegal.
Wow.
And, even today, like, we still keep in touch. But you get to learn so much from each other. And then on top of that, we had a lot of cultural exchanges with our hosts, which are, in the US. And although the cultures are different, it just came seamlessly together, and of course the skills that I took away from that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially in the development space. How do you, craft a development program?
Nice.
How do you implement your project?
Wow.
So, and how do you measure it? The M&E component of it, so it was very, very, very useful for me, and actually part of what I'm doing now. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And would you encourage other Botswana to apply for, I know the Yali Mandela Washington Fellowship has recently closed, but would you encourage Botswana to apply for the program? A lot of people may think that it is an opportunity for education, but the cultural experience is second to none.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, exposure to a great network of people is second to none. Opening the doors to the globe is second to none. So what would you say to young people? What would you say to your nation in line with your experience and encouraging Botswana to engage with the U.S. Embassy as well as apply for some of these programs?
I would definitely, first thing is just, of course, check out the social media pages, because it has all the different aspects, all the different things that you need to have in order to apply. And what I would encourage is if you want to apply for, let's say, 2023, start building your profile now so that you have a really good profile to, when you, at the time that you apply. And finally, if you can, reach out to an alumni so that they can actually guide you on, okay, how do you get that winning winning pitch, because you do need to stand out, definitely. And it's an amazing opportunity, and I would encourage young people to definitely get on it. It's one of the best opportunities that you can get in your life. And I kid you not, by the way.
And I kid you not. Look, for example, those of you that believe in Pan-Africanism, I know there's the Pan-African Youth Leadership Program that is out now. It's a program offered by the U.S. Embassy, or at least, facilitated by the U.S. Embassy. It's officially open. Applications for the Pan-African Youth Leadership All-Stars program are still open, and I believe it's open for 3 weeks. You get to go to the United States for 3 weeks to learn on leadership training. Please make sure you apply. I think the closing date is the 1st of October 2022. And I'm a big Pan-Africanist. Like, I'm a big Pan-African. Like this alleged thing of Namibia and Botswana and getting rid of passports. Now that's I subscribe to that kind of thing, and I think would like to encourage a lot of people. Lebo Speaks, let me grant you this opportunity to share your parting statements. But before you go, tell us the experience of Syria. Tell us those kind of experience. You're going to war-stricken countries. You're going down on the ground where you're dealing. Just highlight that component of your life.
Syria is an active conflict country, but that's the line of my work. So I think I'm kind of like used to that now. But I think it's a bittersweet experience.
Absolutely,
because, I'm there to provide the service that rather work in my line of work and provide the services that I do to children, because I work with UNICEF. But also at the same time, it's not easy to.
I can imagine the psychological impact of seeing, human beings going through such suffering and things like that. And that's why I think I'd like to applaud you. I truly think if there was a person that deserved to be a part of the Yali leadership cohort, it's definitely you. I think I should vote for you to go again.
Can I go again?
I think we need to put in a petition at the U.S. Embassy to say, look, Lebo Speaks, she got to go again. You know what I'm saying? Because whether you like it or not, you want to invest in young leaders who are putting what they get and invest. It's the pay it forward principle. You get granted granted an empowerment opportunity, but you pay it forward. And I'd really, really like you to start a podcast. I'd really like you to share this experience with Botswana, because whether we like it or not, the human race is going back to the shared economy. We gotta help one another. I said Motole Motokomo. I said Motselo. I said going back to who we are, not necessarily your citizenry, but who we are as human beings. And I think, you greatly inspire me. I'm glad that now I know your story and what you've done. So shout out to you. Where can people follow you? If they're, hey, today I will promote us.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. But, on Instagram, Lebo Speaks. I currently don't have a Twitter or a Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. Or on LinkedIn. Leboham.
Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. Kings and Queens, the partner spotlight. Wana wa Mogai. She's doing great things around the world. And that is the power of education. You can give me a fish.
Yeah.
But hey, I can eat for a day. You can teach me how to fish, and you've empowered me for the rest of my life. And this is what, I'm of the thought that we need to bring programs like Tirolos Chaba back. Yeah. I come from that background where we need to cultivate a culture of volunteerism.
And caring about people.
Yeah.
And hearing about people, hearing people's experiencing, and, cultivating that kind of developmental principle that says, let's develop our country. Let's be the change that we want to see.
Yeah. And you said something earlier on about exposure.
Yeah.
And if you're not exposed to anything, you're literally a person who has never traveled or has traveled less.
Yes.
He or she literally grows up believing his or her mother is the greatest cook.
Yes.
But no, you haven't been to Europe yet.
Yes.
You haven't tasted Kigali food,
yes.
right? So give yourself that opportunity to just jump in, because you're going to learn more than where you are. You cannot give yourself an ability to challenge yourself beyond this fear, because you're surrounding yourself with people you went to school with and you were the greatest when you were standard 7, but you haven't met a great person until you went to, places like Kenya, Nigeria.
Yes, absolutely.
Uganda.
The world has a lot to offer. Okay, moving swiftly along. Listen up. Be on the lookout for Express Credit activation in your area. Express Credit will be in Pilani Crossing Mall and Muchudi on the 17th of September 2022 as they officially open the Pilani branch. Do visit them at their branch to inquire and stand a chance to win yourself fuel vouchers and a lot more when you sign up for a loan. Call them on 316-5512 for more information. Express Credit, money when you need it. Borrowing more money than you can afford can lead to severe financial difficulties. After this, I'm giving away something and I've only got a minute, so I'm officially opening our phone lines 395-6962. Call in and stand a chance to win something. Proudly brought to you by the Stars and Stripes radio show, America in Botswana. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Hi, Kaitan. Wawota mpadi silva again. Kana ni ntsenga tsa spy.
Ga se gore ke go tsengetse airtime ya orange ka change.
Well, airtime ka change ya 90 pence. Tsafalat.
Erra, me ke bua ke tlhoafetse.
Dirisa change ya gago go reka airtime go simolla ka 25 thebe ka Orange Top Up My Change. O ka dira se ko marekisetsong a Choppies fela.
Orange brings you closer to what matters.
The Stars and Stripes show is brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.
It's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. Let me take the score. Gabs FM, good morning. How are you?
Hello, Swift.
Complaining doesn't pay my bills. How are you?
Great, thanks. Terra, not on the competition. Keep up the LinkedIn and the Twitter follow ya Mayo Hetangubuyale.
Lebo Speaks. She's on Instagram as Lebo Speaks.
Lebo Speaks.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Gabs FM, good morning. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Complaining doesn't pay my bills.
They don't listen.
Yes, they don't care. Now, let me ask you this question. There was a lady I was interviewing who has done so much work around the world. Name one country where she's been active in.
That's America.
America, okay, I'll give it to you. Hold the line and I'll give it to you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how we close the show. Absolutely beautiful. Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Mission in Gaborone. 11:59, we're crossing over to the news shortly.
The Stars and Stripes show was brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.